Hi everyone, welcome to the instructor video on genre. Genre might seem like a frightening or otherwise academic word, but I can assure you that most of you are already familiar with the concept of genres. For instance, when you're scrolling through Spotify or another streaming service, oftentimes you're prompted to scroll through genres of the kind of content that you're looking for. There are genres of film, genres of music, and, of course, genres of literature. For the purposes of our class, we can understand a literary work's genre as the literary category to which that text belongs. There are several strategies you can employ to determine a literary work's genre. To categorize a literary work within its genre, you'll need to recognize its form, content, and style. To determine its form, you'll need to know whether or not the text is a piece of prose, poetry, or drama. To identify a text's content, you'll need to ask yourself, what is the subject of this text? And finally, to analyze a piece's style, you'll need to ask yourself, how exactly is this text written? How is the author incorporating elements of style in order to speak to the text's form and subject matter? So that you can see genres in action, here I've provided a few examples of genres we've already encountered throughout our Introduction to Fiction course. For instance, we might place A Good Neighborhood within the genre of the domestic novel. We could just as easily categorize it as a coming-of-age novel. These are both appropriate genres to attach to A Good Neighborhood because, one, we know that the form is a novel, and two, within this novel, Fowler is using both content, the subject of the novel, and style to speak to domestic concerns, both within individual families and across the neighborhood of Oak Knoll. Additionally, we could categorize Anne Pancake's Ghostless as a rural short story. And I would even go so far as to say it's actually a rural ghost story, because a variety of ghosts, despite the title, appear throughout the story. There are explicit ghosts that Kit and his father see, but there are also implicit ghosts, because throughout the story, Kit is trying to make sense of his memories of his recently deceased father. And of course, all of these events take place in front of the backdrop of their rural hometown. Finally, Mexican Gothic can be a tricky one, but I think we can aptly categorize Mexican Gothic within the genre of the new weird historical fiction novel. We could call it a historical fiction novel because it is set in early 1950s Mexico. However, Moreno Garcia complicates that expectation by including elements of the new weird. And those facets of the new weird contribute not only to the Gothic elements of the novel, but also to the more science fiction-esque elements as well. Ultimately, recognizing a text's genre can help literary critics classify a piece of literature, deem what is appropriate for a certain type of literature, and judge the merits of a literary work based on the genre it's been placed in. Basically, genre can help us enter, understand, and talk about one particular literary text or a group of literary texts. However, because genres are a result of the cultures that produce them, and because those cultures are changing all the time, it makes sense that genres, too, are expanding all the time. To this end, recognizing a text's genre helps literary critics compare and contrast works within the same genre and understand how certain texts broaden or challenge genre-based constraints. Remember, genres are not set in stone. They can look different across a year, a decade, or a literary movement. I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit more about genre, and I hope that this information will be helpful as you start working on your comparative analysis essay. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Thanks for watching, and that's all for now.